In the heart of a forgotten kingdom, shrouded by mist and time, stood an abandoned royal palace, a silent testament to a once glorious era. It was here that Elara, a young woman haunted by fragmented memories of her lineage, and Adrian, a steadfast historian and her confidant, ventured to uncover the deeply buried secrets of her family's past. The palace air was thick with the dust of centuries and an unnerving stillness that seemed to absorb all sound. As they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing like ghostly whispers, they were drawn by a faint flickering light emanating from the cavernous throne room. There, amidst the decaying opulence and cobweb-draped furniture, they found it, a single ornate candle, its flame burning with an ethereal, unwavering luminescence. There was no draft to make it dance, no wax melting down its sides, no logical explanation for its persistent fire in a place untouched by human hands for generations. This mysterious candle was not merely an object but a key, a conduit to a past steeped in blood and sorrow, intrinsically tied to an ancient, malevolent curse. Within its seemingly benign flame, the tormented soul of a long-dead emperor was trapped, a spectral prisoner within the very walls he once commanded with absolute tyrannical power. The palace was his tomb, and the candle was the lock on his cage, a cage that occasionally swung open to ensnare the unwary. Each time the strange, otherworldly glow of the candle pulsed, intensifying in its brilliance, Elara and Adrian were violently torn from their reality. The world around them would dissolve into a swirling vortex of light and shadow, and they would find themselves pulled into visceral, terrifying visions of the past. They were no longer explorers in a ruin, but unwilling spectators in a tragic play, witnessing the dramatic and brutal downfall of a mighty empire. They saw the emperor, a figure of immense power and even greater cruelty, his eyes burning with a paranoid fire. Vision after vision assaulted their senses, each more horrifying than the last. They watched as the emperor, consumed by his insatiable hunger for absolute control, turned on those closest to him. They saw him orchestrate the demise of loyal generals, poison his own kin at a grand feast, and condemn his most trusted advisors to dungeons from which they would never return, all in the name of securing his throne against imagined threats. The candle, they came to understand, was a psychic vessel, a horrific reliquary containing not just the emperor's soul, but the echoes of his countless victims. It pulsed with their anguish and despair. Anyone who drew near, anyone who gazed too long into its hypnotic flame, was at risk of being ensnared in an eternal looping nightmare, forced to relive the final, agonizing moments of the lost souls tethered to the emperor's cursed existence. After what felt like an eternity trapped in the horrifying loop of the past, bearing witness to unspeakable acts of cruelty and betrayal, Elara found herself standing once more in the cold, silent throne room, the phantom screams of the dead still ringing in her ears. The visions had taken their toll. She was pale and trembling, but her eyes held a new, steely resolve. She understood now. The candle was the anchor, the source of the palace's malevolence, a perpetual fountain of spectral energy that fed the haunting. As long as it burned, the emperor's cruel spirit and the tormented souls of his victims would remain chained to this world, forever reenacting their tragic history. The cycle of pain had to be broken. Adrian, seeing the determination etched onto her face, reached out a hand to stop her, his voice a hoarse whisper. "Elara, we don't know what will happen. Extinguishing it could release him, or something worse." But Elara shook her head, her gaze fixed on the solitary flame. It was a choice between a known evil and an unknown one, and she could no longer bear the torment she had witnessed. With a deep, shuddering breath, she stepped forward, leaned over the ancient pedestal, and blew. The flame flickered violently for a moment as if fighting against its own demise, and then with a final, sighing hiss, it went out. An immediate, profound silence descended upon the palace, a quiet so absolute it felt heavier than any sound. The oppressive weight in the air lifted, the chilling whispers ceased, and the spectral figures that had haunted their periphery vanished like smoke. The Emperor's soul, along with the ghosts of his court, seemed to have been finally released, their cursed ties to the mortal plane severed. The palace was still, silent once again, as if it had finally been allowed to sleep after centuries of unrest. However, as Elara and Adrian turned to leave, a fragile sense of victory mingling with their exhaustion, the story did not offer them the clean resolution they so desperately craved. The silence that now filled the grand halls was different, not peaceful but expectant, watchful. As they retraced their steps through the darkened corridors, the shadows seemed to stretch and writhe in the corners of their vision, and a cold that had nothing to do with the night air clung to their skin. A lingering doubt began to fester in their minds, a chilling question that echoed the new, deeper silence of the palace. Had they truly escaped the curse, or had they merely changed the rules of the haunting? Blowing out the candle had dispersed the Emperor's soul, but where had it gone? Had they truly set the spirits free, or had they simply unleashed the primary malevolence from its vessel, allowing it to roam free, untethered, and unbound within the ancient stones of the palace? The story concludes not with a sigh of relief, but with a held breath, leaving behind an eerie, unsettling atmosphere. The haunting of the palace was not over. It had merely transformed. An unresolved, palpable presence now permeated the very fabric of the old castle, more subtle but perhaps even more sinister than before, waiting patiently in the suffocating darkness for its next visitor.